Okay, so today we're working on a stock for a Ruger 1022. And I have to admit, the Ruger 1022 is probably my favorite rifle. I know I've said that about every rifle. But this one probably gets shot the most. It's just, go out and shoot and plink and have some fun. But I do have a couple complaints about it. One is, if you've ever handled it, you notice it right here behind at the butt. There's that butt plate, and leaves that sharp edge right there. There's also a sharp edge just behind the receiver, and there's one here behind the trigger guard. So I'm going to strip this wood stock down, and I'm going to address, custom fit, contour the stock so we can eliminate those sharp edges. So today we're going to try to improve upon the perfection of the Ruger 1022. So over here in the dirty part of the shop, and what I'm going to do, I'm going to start with stripper. I'm going to apply some stripper on this, and we'll see how the strip's a finish. If this doesn't work, then I'll just go straight to sanding. But I want to try stripping it first. I mean, I'm not going to strip. I'm going to be stripping the stock. Nobody wants to see me strip. They want to see the stock stripped. I know, it's a play on words. So let's start it off. We'll apply this. And this stuff's kind of smelly. We'll see how this does. We're going to let that sit for about 15 minutes, and we'll get back to it and we'll see if we strip the finish or not. All right, so we're finally getting the action we desired here with this stripper. And you can see it's all bubbling up. It's all peely. It's getting ready to scrape it off. And it's taken about 3 applications to get to this point. But I'm finally at the point now where the stripper is doing what it's supposed to do. And the stock is giving up that finish. All right, so I'm going to keep applying, scraping, and it's not going to take much longer. But the finish is coming off. It's just taking quite a bit of effort here with the stripper. And there's nothing like a hard working stripper. Don't be stingy with a stripper. Well, after about 45 minutes with the stripper, you're left with wood. I know the stripper jokes just don't get old. But this has got still a little damp. I'm going to hang this up in on my rack, and we'll get back on this tomorrow. Hopefully, we've got a little bit of whisker. We'll maybe sand that down. But you're not going to get a great piece of grade A walnut. It's just a hard wood, and you can tell by my hands a lot of that stain that Ruger applied on there, it's coming off. We're going to do a little sanding on this tomorrow, a little shaping, a little contouring, and then we'll apply either, I'm not trying to decide between either, like a true oil finish, or should I go with a boiled linseed oil? And we'll see how it goes tomorrow. All right, so today's the next day. Not quite 24 hours, but pretty close. And the stock feels kind of whiskery. That stripper that we put on there was mostly liquid, it was a gel. So it did raise some whiskers up. So I'm going to start contouring the stock now. If you look here, the side of the stock, you can't even get a fingernail where that butt plate meets the wood. Same with the bottom side. But up here on the comb, there's a little where I can get my finger on there. There's that little, that's what I want to take down. Then there's that little hump up here right behind the receiver. I want to take that down, and maybe a little here behind the trigger guard. So I'm going to do lightly sand. I don't want to change the dimensions here on the side or the bottom. Just that comb I want to change the dimension, and right here behind the receiver, and possibly up front here where that barrel band is. So I'm going to get this put into the vise, and I'm going to get my wood file, not a rasp, but actual file. I'll get my file working on this, and we'll start shaping it. All right, so what I've done here is I've had the receiver in there, and I just took a pencil and I just marked out where the high spots are. I'm going to take my file, I'll knock off that pencil shading and refit and do it all over again. And I'll keep shading, keep fitting, and I get the idea. Keep doing it until it's smooth. as I'm sure you guessed, there wasn't some beautiful piece of walnut hidden underneath there. It's a blonde, white, horrible, ugly looking wood with no figure, no grain to it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to stain this before I urethane or before I oil it. I'm going to go with gunstock. So we'll get it stained. I've got the contour the way I want it. I got it sanded how I'd like it. I got everything kind of blended and smooth and almost like it's been melted down and all the edges have been taken off. So we'll get her stained up and then we'll get ready for a finish. All right, so that gunstock stain took about an hour to dry. Now I'm going to go ahead with the True Oil. What I'm going to do, I'm just going to, Birchwood Casey True Oil. I'm just going to rub it with my hands. I'll let it set up overnight. Then we'll take a look at this again tomorrow. But let's go ahead and start with that True Oil. I've got it. Drop, drop, drop. Doesn't take a lot. Just drops. Looks just like it did when we started. All this work and nothing to show for it. All right, I'm just going to continue with that. We'll see how it looks tomorrow. Well, it's taken a few days and several coats of that True Oil, and just kind of hand rubbed it in. So it's very, very thin. It's not like thick like a coating of plastic. Just enough to give it just a little bit of shine and seal the grain. But the contouring, the shaping, where there's no longer that ridge there where the wood was proud. It's not really standing up. This is feeling much. This has all been smooth and leveled. If you can see the fit, the wood to the metal, all through here behind the trigger. Now there's still a gap that I couldn't close the gap down. You can't make the wood bigger, but I take the level down quite a bit and around the screw. And I softened up the edge here at the front, so it has a much nicer feel. There's none of those what you would call a hot spot where it's going to feel bad. So I've really made this a lot more pleasant to hold, a lot more comfortable to feel and touch. And like I said, there's no sharp edges, and maybe I don't know, maybe classed it up a little bit. I kind of like the way that that gunstock stain did. You can still see the grain of the wood. It's not a terribly ugly gun. It doesn't have a beautiful walnut stain, but it does have a nice little grain to it. But it made it a much more pleasant to hold and much more enjoyable rifle to handle and shoot. It was a fun project. I'm glad I did it.